Every first and third Thursday at 8 p.m. EST. Culture, healing, heritage, spirituality, Caribbean roots and African diaspora rising. From St. Croix to the world so wide. Queen Mother Dr. Chen brings truth with pride. Culture in the rhythm, wisdom in the sound. Healing for the people, roots in sacred ground. She keeps the story, she keeps it alive. African diaspora, we rise and thrive. Caribbean voices, bold and free. Honoring ancestors, shaping destiny. As we speak, so let the people know. Culture and healing in a reggae flow. As we speak, heritage strong. Spiritual wisdom all night long. As it's strong. Every first and third Thursday, tune in live. 8 p.m. EST, come feel the vibe. As we speak, we rise, we seek. Queen Mother Dr. Chen, I speak. This kickstanding, preserving the flame. Teaching our people to honor the name. Rank moving with chats for life. Culture, healing, art, spirit, and life. Thick Maraji community wisdom too. Building up the people in all we do. From island roots to global lands. We remember, rise and stand. Pan-African vision, reparations call. Justice and healing for one and all. Audible, these are I heart radio too. Amazon music bringing vibes to you. As they speak, let the people know. Culture and healing in a reggae flow. As they speak, heritage strong. Spiritual wisdom all night long. Strong. Every first and third Thursday, tune in live. 8 p.m. PST, come feel the vibe. As they speak, we rise, we see. Queen Mother Dr. Chen, culture rising, healing flowing, heritage living, spirit knowing.
Give thanks. It's always an opportunity for us to speak truth to power. So welcome to AstSpeaks, Building a New Legacy. This is a live streamed broadcast that will also remain on AstSpeaks on YouTube, as well as AstSpeaks on Facebook, and on your host, Queen Mother Dr. Chenzira's personal page on Chenzira Kahina on Facebook. Today, we get an opportunity to really highlight a variety of serious history, tradition, institutional culture, heritage, and much more through the embodiment of His Royal Majesty, King Bungane III of the Embo Kingdom in South Africa. So we want to take a moment to just have a very quick reflection in regards to some of the things that we do here with AstSpeaks, just so persons are really clear of some of the things that we highlight. We always start from the beginning in terms of giving thanks and praise to the Almighty Creator by the names that we honor and have reverence for. We always speak of giving thanks and praise to the One Most High, living each day daily for the One Most Divine, and doing it tomorrow just as we do it today. And then we also add to that with a realistic approach to how do we look at culture? How do we look at healing and wellness, health, medicine? How do we look at the arts that govern the universe? How do we look at the sciences and technology that engage in our day-to-day life? How do we explore our spirituality and live the spirituality in which we speak? So today we have the honor and privilege to be joined by a distinguished royal who brings so much truth and history. I encourage persons, bring your note paper, have your notepad open in your cellular device, because it's going to be quite a bit of information shared. And before I even begin the introduction, I think it's most fitting to hear the customary praise song in the tradition of the Embo from the Crown Prince of the Embo Kingdom.
Izibongo zikaBhungane kaNtsele, uBhungane wamakhulukhulu,
undlu zamele endaweni embi zamele entundeleni kwasothontoza msiko wezithotho zabalandakazi kaze abalandakazi bazozila ngani uBhungane wawubuza umuzi wazi wawubuza umuzi kaMaluleka wawubuza umuzi kaNomane isihlahla seshungu sebhelebhele siyagawula sewanquma amazembe zembe lisemsamo kwamncanga ihlahlela bazovela kunganekhawula abantu awuseze wembetha ngubo mvuna abantu njengamabele bombatha ngubo uBhungane ngalwa nankunzinye zingona kumhlanganyela kuzwakale uBhungane wakhe ngenkomini ezimpondo yathi semphinjeni yadla amalala isihoho sidla sililele mhlambi yabantu yabojabanqa mntakamphinda uBhungane indaba uzoba indaba nakuzikhundlwane uHalenyathi indlovu yakwamazibuko emaphumulo emanzinzinini equla ngawe emazibukweni inkamsamlomo ungangazibuko umathukwalile njengomntwana indlovu yakwamqada luphondo lunye elikhanyisela izimpondo hambili lingelengele ladla imithi yakwaBhunga wabulela umafukwaba kwabo namhla akwaba ndaba zalutho.
Greetings, Bayete, Your Royal Majesty, King Bungane III of the Embo Kingdom. Welcome again. We're grateful that you were able to make time to join us. Are you able to hear us? And everything was working so beautifully. I need you to unmute your mic. We are having a few technical issues, so I will continue to share. Are you able to, could you speak, please? You need to unmute, Your Majesty.
Yes, I can hear you, but somewhere it cuts.
No, okay, well, but if I can stop, I'd like for you to just really share with us at least your opening reflection. Just unmute and speak, please.
Yes, I don't know. Last time we were having a topic about so-called illegal migrants or undocumented migrants. I don't know.
Yes.
We continue with this discussion.
Yes, let's go there, Bayete.
Yeah, Bayete. So I felt that we did not do justice the last time. So today, I think let us do justice to the topic in dealing with the historical and the present. So when we go back to the history of South Africa prior to the democratic dispensation, before that, I think let's go back also to what happened to Bismarck, the German Empire, who decided that there should be a Berlin Conference where they decide about the imposition of borders in our continent without consulting with the traditionals, leaders, without consideration of existing ethnic and linguistic or cultural boundaries. Now, these are the long-lasting artificial borders and regional conflicts. Now, on May, on the 31st in 1910, the Union of South Africa was formed. It was established to unify the Cape Colony, Natal, Transvaal, and Orange River. Now, Colonel Louis Botha became the first prime minister. The creation of the union was formally enacted by the British Parliament in 1909. Now, during the Union of South Africa era, 1910 and 1961, the migrant workers formed the backbone of the economy, particularly in gold and diamonds. They were Black Africans who were heavily recruited from the rural reserves and neighboring colonies in those days, like Mozambique, Lesotho, Malawi, and etc. And were paid low wages and housed in highly regimented single-sex compounds. The system was designed to extract cheap labor while preventing Black workers from settling permanently in the urban industrial centers. This secular immigration was strictly controlled through organizations like Witwatersrand, Native Recruiting Corporation, NRC. The Chamber of Mines sourced a massive portion of its workforce from outside the union borders. Now, when we come to state legislation, laws such as the Mines and Works Act of 1911 and the Native Land Act of 1913 forced Black Africans off ancestral lands into depending on wage labor, laying the groundwork for later apartheid era spatial control. Definition of illegal migrant is as follows. This refers to any non-citizen who is inside the Republic without legal authorization, which includes those who entered through unauthorized borders, crossing, overstayed their visa, or hold expired permits. The key legal distinction: undocumented migrants, the most is consisting of foreign nationals. The asylum seekers versus illegal foreigners. Under the Refugees Act, foreign nationals who applied for refugee status and hold valid temporary asylum seekers permit and legal residing in South Africa, while their claims are being processed. While illegal immigrants is widely used in public discourse, some legislations, human rights organizations, and academia in South Africa strongly refer the term undocumented foreign nationals or irregular migrants. This is because the term carries a criminal connotation. The illegal migrants, the majority of them, e.g., Bangladeshis, Ethiopians, they have what we call asylum seekers permit, refugees status. They then open shops in the local areas, meaning where there are African people, the majority of the Bangladeshis and the Ethiopians. Now, as they open these shops, they sell expired foodstuffs, popcorns that are poisonous. Kids eat them, and the majority of them, they die because of these popcorns. They create their own bottled water with their own brands and use toilet water to fill those bottled waters. The same illegal migrants, they own their shops and sleep in those shops. They create fake brands and sell them to the communities. In their shops, they only hire illegal migrants from Tanzania, Malawi, and etc. Many of the school kids died because of the poison food that is supplied by these foreigners in these shops.
I have a question, if I may.
The whole of the township and economy is controlled by them.
Mm-hmm.
While unemployment is so high in South Africa, migrants from Nigeria, these are the people who are known for supplying drugs to the youth of South Africa. There is a TV series show. It is called Ngizokuthola in English simply means I will find you or I will get you. Now, most of them, they appear on that show arrested for selling and distributing drugs in the locality. In the Malawians, most of them are used for cheap labor employed by the Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, Ethiopians, of course, South African of origins, they also employ them. On the issue of Lesotho migrants, most of their women are used as domestic workers. The men, they are found in the illegal mining together with Ethiopian origins. The Mozambican men, most of them, they fix cars. Some of them, they do house breakings. Some of them, they sell vegetables on the streets of South Africa. Their women deal with artificial human hair, selling it at the places called Dragon City in Johannesburg, and plaiting hair in the corners of South Africa, especially in the busy corners. Zimbabweans, they are referred as economic migrants. Men and women, they become waiters. They do cheap labor. Some of them do crime in cities. Some of them steal infrastructure equipment. They steal railroad steals, electricity equipment. They steal medical supplies. They flood hospitals and clinics. They open street shops in the pavements of the CBD of Johannesburg, in the central Johannesburg and other metros. Mozambicans steal 4x4 cars and send them to Mozambique. There was also a syndicate of stealing little children and sending them abroad for human trafficking. Zimbabwe again. Also, when you request an Uber ride, they will come and mark you in that ride. Uber decided, there's another one, I just forgotten its name. There is Uber, then Uber decided to say, before they send the cars, they must put cameras in their cars because of the high crime that was caused by these Uber drivers, because the majority of the Uber drivers are Zimbabweans by origin. Okay. They will also use some of the Uber rides to kidnap you. Most of the Uber riders and local taxis are driven by Zimbabweans. Their behavior is very bad
Your Majesty,
to their host country, meaning South Africa.
Your Majesty,
they are very arrogant.
Okay.
They don't respect their host. They even beat local police and foreigners in South Africa. They even create human rights organizations, create political parties. Some of the people who are in South Africa illegally are people who
we're having some connection issues, and I'm not sure of exactly where we got lost, but obviously there's energy that
MEND,
because I don't think
he was arrested in South Africa
so give me
in 2010 and sentenced to 24 years in prison for orchestration in Nigeria. Kemi Seba, a prominent Pan-African activist and vocal supporter of West African military juntas, wanted in Benin for inciting rebellion and was arrested in South Africa in 2026.
Okay. We're going to let this continue because I cannot
Abila,
hear me. And I think
alleged leader of the Union of Nationalists of Renewal,
just know that we're
rebel group in DRC, he was arrested alongside.
Yeah, we're doing our best to get this
with 19 other suspected rebels in South Africa in a province called Limpopo in
It's too much good information and too much clear information. And I know if persons have comments, I'm encouraging them post the comments, resolutions on the themes being discussed. Again, we're having a tech sound piece. Last time it was video, but this time it's sound, and we're hoping that persons can hear clearly what His
Sorry.
Royal Majesty. No, it's not. No apology required. I just know that you may not be able to hear me. And so I was asking, I want to go back a moment if you can still hear me, so that because there are questions that are being posed and are coming up in some of our platforms. Because when you started to identify, we have a brother, greetings, Daddy Black.
I can't hear a single word. It's keep
Oh,
on
wow.
cutting. Maybe can we opt for the call?
Okay. Well, if you keep your video on here, and then we'll do it like we did before, but keep your video up so that at least they can see it. And we can do that. All right. So give us a moment so that we can move in that direction.
Maybe can we opt for me calling, then speaking from the WhatsApp call, maybe?
I'm calling you now. Yes. Yes, Your Majesty. Just we can do that. I'll leave your picture up, and that way we can do the call. So go ahead and call on WhatsApp. Perfect. Listeners and viewers, I hope that you recognize it's usually when we start talking about certain things that are very, very telling that it becomes an issue. Yes, Your Royal Majesty.
My apologies. I can't hear you.
No
Yes, I don't
problem.
know.
This is fine. We'll do it like this. At least I got a chance to see you a little bit earlier. I'm not sure what is the delay because we're using the same signal. But please, what? So let me take it back a moment just for the context of persons that are listening. And there are persons that are tuning in from the Cameroons. We have persons watching from the Caribbean. We have persons viewing from New York. We want to make sure that we ask what are the organizations. One of the questions is what organizations can the global community support, right? So before you answer that though, because you said a lot and then it started to cut out, so I'd like us to. You don't have to repeat each country, but I'd like to be clear when you're making these references. Is this something that happened from the 20th century coming into the 21st century, or are you speaking of what is happening like in the 21st century? And when you're making these comments of, this is what Zimbabweans have been engaged in, this is what Mozambicans have been engaged in, this is what the Pakistani or Malawians, etc. This isn't all of them. This is just a particular component in those particular countries. Could you make that clarification, Your Majesty?
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. What? Yeah. What I'm talking about, this is currently happening in South Africa. Why am I giving this background? I'm giving this background for the viewers to understand that where does this anger come from of the local communities, where it is supported by local communities, this particular group of people who uses that narrative, that frustration for them to gain more stronghold in South Africa. Like Pagelum Tagati, as I said last time, that particular group, they use these incidents that I am quoting here for them to be able to have this particular following. That's why it will look like the whole of South Africa, they are against foreigners. But meanwhile, these incidents, they keep on occurring currently. These are the incidents that are mobilizing for the people to be against foreigners. I don't know if you understand.
No, we understand you. I mean, again, we understand. It's just that the question I'm asking is just to verify that this is not everybody. This is a particular circle.
Yes, not everybody.
Correct.
Not everybody.
Correct.
Yeah, not everybody. But those, for an example, there was a misguided, just days before, there was a misguided visit of the king of the Zulus with the king of Amambondo to go and meet the president of Zimbabwe. Now, when you understand the dynamics of Zimbabwe, there is the Chonas and there's the Ndebeles. Now, most of the Shona people, you'll never find them in the local townships, the Shona-speaking people. You would find the Ndebele-speaking people. Now, between the Ndebeles and the Shonas, between the party of the Ndebeles of Joshua Nkomo and the party of the Shonas that is led by Mnangagwa, there is a huge tension between the two. So you can't go and speak to a person that you know that is not going to help. To me, the exercise was in futile. It was not going to help anywhere, because the people that we are talking about in South Africa are the Ndebele-speaking people. Now the question is, who is their leader? That is where the issue must be discussed. Thank you.
No, but thank you for sharing that, because I want to also share the material that you offered to us, because when we speak of who can we support, how do we, from the global African diaspora, as well as the African diaspora in the African community inside of the African continent, because there's so many different perspectives being shared. And people use chaos to make it seem like it's something that it's not. And that's why, at least I know that's the question that I'm asking on behalf of other persons that are sharing information with us. Like, even when you speak of the prominent Swati corporate professionals and executives that have notable leadership positions across top tier South African financial institutions, state-owned enterprises, and corporate boards, and you speak of this deep economic integration between Eswatini and South Africa, and where some of this cross-pollination happens and the influence that it has. You speak of names that I will not try to mispronounce, just being very prominent, in terms of doing work in South Africa. You speak of Vodacom, you speak of telecommunication companies. Again, and in these days of telecommunications and media and internet being so prominent, this is a time where persons are attempting to understand what exactly is taking place. So thank you for sharing with us what is the crux, or what are some of the reasons for this hostility, because it appears as if, and this is just me sharing what is perceived as, that many Africans in South Africa do not like Africans from anywhere else except South Africa. So that's why you giving the history and the foundational portion of what is taking place provides some clarity, because people misunderstand, because you have one set of the media that's just making it look like it's black on black violence. You have another set of the media that is making it seem that the Africans in South Africa do not welcome Pan-Africanism. And we know that that's not accurate, those of us that know. But I'm saying you're giving us some context and the history of the incidents that have happened that have created this hostility and this antagonism. And like you said, it's not all across the board. It's just that when these certain things happen, it escalates old wounds. Because I've watched you, we've listened to you share of what took place from the British influence, from that whole apartheid system, which has left a very inhumane taste in the mouth, the body, the mind, the soul, the consciousness, the spirit of many people in the region. So I would love for you to speak to what are some of the resolutions that you see, so that this antagonism can be reduced, and that this, what appears to be like a civil war, can be reduced. What do you suggest, Your Majesty?
My suggestion is working together with our counterparts, with our African brothers and sisters. Now the problem that you see practically in South Africa is that, I'll just make a practical examples of the Ethiopians. Now the Ethiopians they've got a well-organized economic bloc. Now, when you approach them, because I was one of those that approached them to say, can we work together in empowering local people so that they work with you, they understand the model that you are using for your economic spin-off, so that it is not one-sided. It is not that people are coming to your shop to buy and that's it, and then you've got other people from Tanzania to work for you. But how is it that we can work together? I'm raising this thing because I was once a deputy president of the Chamber of Commerce of Greater Alexandra Chamber of Commerce. We call it Galexcock. Now, what we did was to say, let's work together. Two, working together, let's create what we call a foundation that is going to be empowering our locals, especially the old age people, especially the kids, buying school uniform for them, and also feeding the orphans, assisting the orphans to go to school, to have a better life. But the group of the Ethiopians that I've engaged with, they would agree with you, but coming back to you, they'll never come back to you. This is the experience I've experienced. Then I engaged what we call the Southern African Pakistani Chamber of Commerce. It is only them who came to me and said, okay, can we then assist the poor of the poorest in the local townships with school books, with school bags, with school uniforms and shoes. These are the only people who came back to us. But the rest, they monopolize the economy. And that creates that frustration in the townships, where you see people say, you know what, these people are feeding our kids with snacks that are rotten, and at the same time they're selling breads that are expired, and at the same time we want to work with them, they don't want to work with us, work with us. It is better for them to leave. I understand that is the frustration that I'm talking about. But mine is that I would highly recommend them with their leaders to reduce themselves to the locals and say, let's work together and create what we call an inclusive economic system so that we work. Because now the question then says in South Africa, the very same people who are regarded as illegal migrants, who are owning shops in the townships, they don't invest in South Africa. What they do, immediately when they have money, they send their money through these MoneyGrams that they send outside. Now the question is that, how are they building in the economy of South Africa or the communities? Let me make another last example. There is what we call Indian Traders Association in Alexandra Township. Now these are the people that we grew up when we ran away from Natal with my parents to stay in Alexandra Township. These are the people that we used to buy from them. Now the community of Alexandra is a buying power for the very same Indians. Now the very same Indians, we are grown up today. We've got gray beards, we've got gray hairs. They've not even a single day built a community center for the same people who are supporting them economically.
Okay. I see what you're saying. There's no reciprocity. There hasn't been.
Absolutely.
Okay. That's what we're looking for. So that there should be a give back within the communities that they have reaped various riches, wealth, prosperity in. And that hasn't happened. And again, that goes back to that capitalist imperialist construct that we know these are systems that facilitate that. So if there were a different systematic approach to how we institutionalize that reciprocity, then there would be more harmony, there would be more peace building, there would be more tranquility, and then of course there would be a better sharing of the resources. I want to come back to something that you said in terms of the poor quality, or like in the West we refer to it as like you have grade A, grade B, and grade else, everything else. And it appears that because you made that reference more than once regarding what is actually the quality of even the product and obviously the services that are provided by the persons that are coming from outside of South Africa, making South Africa their bread and butter, their home where they're making their resources, but the foods that they're providing to the brothers and sisters that are indigenous, native to South Africa, is of low grade and poor quality and causing health issues. And that's why this becomes very, I can see where some of these antagonisms come from. So that's why I keep asking if there hasn't been a form of engagement, are there organizations that you could recommend? Because there's persons that are contributing to some of these same persons in these same businesses because they don't know that they're not doing what you just said. So are there organizations that you can offer or share with us or recommend or suggest, I should say, because I don't want to put you on the spot of just saying only this and only that, but persons are asking, you know, what can they do to help support a more peaceful resolution to what's happening? Because we get to hear from people that are saying that there's been loss of life of Zimbabweans, Mozambicans, and Nigerians. You know, we see governments pulling their nationals out of South Africa. This is what is showing in the media. So the question becomes, how best do we address that? You know, I see that even the president of South Africa was refused entry into another African country because of what's happening in South Africa. So I'm asking you, and I'm not trying to put you in the place of the president. I'm not trying to do that, but I'm just asking, what are some of the, you know, as a royal majesty, as a king of the Embo kingdom and nation, what are the things that you can, because your voice is going to go far, because right now persons are just responding. They're just, what is the right term? They are reacting to the situation, not knowing the history that you've shared, not explaining the antagonisms that have been brewing. You know, they're like been percolating for a long time. What are the things that you would offer as a resolution, and who can we support properly, Your Majesty?
Mine will be very honest to you and to the viewers and to everybody, is that currently in South Africa, there is a problem of organizations that are anti, you know, foreigners. So we need, I just want to be very honest, because, and then the very same organizations, they support other political parties. Now in South Africa, we need an organization that it is non-politically, it has no association with any political affiliation. We need to create a body that is going to be very honest in dealing with resolving the issues of South Africa. Now, we need to create a non-governmental organization that is going to be very honest in dealing, one, with South Africans who do not understand the issue of illegal or illegal or undocumented migrants. Two, we need also the same organization to deal with the very same people who are dishonest, staying in South Africa, opening shops, not paying taxes, not contributing to the GDP of South Africa, creating businesses but not investing in the country, and also selling rotten stuffs. We need an organization that must be created that is not affiliated to any political party, but it is an organization of eminent people, respected dignitary people who are going to be talking to both sides to say this would be the solution to the situation of South Africa, because currently we don't have that.
Okay.
Currently in South Africa, you speak to the guy that I spoke about in our last show.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He says he's responsible for grooming the youth, but he has a political attachment. Then there's much and much has political attachment. Why am I saying they have political attachment? On the 30th, they stood in the public domain and suggested to the people of South Africa to say, if you want to vote in the local government elections, vote for these following parties. So I don't want an organization of that nature. We are looking for an organization that is not going to be siding with any political party, but coming with a solution in resolving the issue of South Africa.
Excellent. And so we're looking for that. And obviously, there are persons that are listening, viewing, or within earshot of what you're saying, Your Majesty. And we're really praying with organization at the heights that that is made manifest. And if, or maybe it does exist and they are very stealth like, maybe they're so under the radar that we do not know that they exist, and maybe they aren't sure how to engage, because that sounds like more of a coalition of persons and organizations. As you said, they need to be respected. I'm going to quote you: we need an organization that must be created that is not affiliated to any political party, with respected people talking to both sides. Currently, we don't have that. I think it's important that persons are able to know that that is what is intended, and that the continuous warfare, because what's how the media, and I want to say that, especially the Western media, they are making it so that they can always show the instability in the African continent and in African spaces. So while people are being murdered and tortured and terrorized around the globe, especially people of African ancestry, when they can pinpoint an internal antagonism and acts of violence and acts that of terrorism within the African continent, within the African community, anywhere in the diaspora, that's what the media pushes. They're not pushing the narrative of how do we authentically have some form of reconciliation. How do you truth and reconciliation? Maybe that's what I need to say. How do we have the history of what led up to this be exposed? Very difficult conversation, but a conversation that has to be had. Everyone, like you said, needs to be able to hear both sides and to come forward. And this is more than a SWOT analysis. This is going to have to be an Ubuntu, ma'atical, balanced, whatever the words are. It needs to support truth, justice, harmony, which you heard me say earlier, reciprocity, divine righteousness, and of course that balance, if we're going to move this forward. Because, and it, as you said, it needs to come from within. Granted, there's brothers and sisters that will offer that support, because it's very hard. We're talking about having, people have been having Pan-African congresses, Pan-African conferences. We're talking about Pan-African summits. We just came from the Pan-African summit in Africa, and there's still these types of hostile, antagonizing engagements. And we need to, it needs to, and again, this is coming from a mother first, a grandmother second, and a daughter, right, of Africa. There has to be like a resolution. So that's why if I keep coming to that question, it's because, one, that's what's being posted in some of our comments. People are asking, what organizations can they support? How do we engage with you and the Embo Kingdom to be able to offer that kind of balancing form of reciprocity, so that the hostilities can be quelled? Because what's happening, like if I listened to a brother from Zimbabwe send us a series of texts and videos that were just terrifying, and then I asked what happened to create this fight and this warring, and he couldn't tell me. Right? And so I left it there only because I felt that it was important. I think that these types of conversations that we're having with you, that's why we're so grateful here at AstSpeaks, Building a New Legacy, that you're willing to even have these types of discussions, Your Majesty. And I'm looking forward to Buiding.
By a metro service.
Yeah, I'm really, this becomes very not even emotional. It's just there's so many distractions keeping us from the greatness of our African sovereignty. There are so many areas that we need to work on. This economic driver piece. If persons can't eat, they're going to get upset. If other people, we see, so let me give another perspective for those that think that this is only in South Africa. Yeah. In the Caribbean and certain islands, persons are actually having to protest to protect beaches and waterfront properties. And in many instances, people are being attacked. People's taxes for their grandfather's property that they've had for decades are being taken from them. People are being displaced in their own island community homelands. I just want persons to catch this. It's becoming difficult for people to live in what people think is paradise in the tropics, because the paradise in the tropics is for some. It's not for the persons that reside and live here. And it's really important to see that connection. That's also what's happening as we listen to His Royal Majesty speak of what's taking place in South Africa, that the people that it's their homeland are being displaced, are not able to reap the rewards of the prosperous wealth of South Africa, while others, and when I say others, I want to speak of those that are even further out than the African continent. Because you said something in our last broadcast regarding how what we say is South African and the ethnic groups, the nations that are there, they go across that artificial colonial land marker. So it's South Africa, yes, but it bleeds out into, there's a connection to Lesotho, there's a connection to Botswana, there's a connection to other parts, of the African continent. And I wish for you to speak to some of that so that persons understand this is not a South Africans against Africans. This is something that started from a economic piece and from disparities in that economic piece. Am I correct?
Correct, absolutely.
Okay. And I would love for you to speak to that so that some of our audience can understand that better. Because we're going to keep continuing. Next time, we're going to start from this part. And then we're going to keep building so that persons can at least look at the different conversations that we're having, Your Majesty, and start to build a more appropriate position and perspective on what is happening in South Africa in 2026.
Right. I'll just just make a practical example. I am a king. I approached a shop owner who's an Ethiopian guy. I sent people to ask him to come to me. He came. He honored the appointment. I said to him, I'm looking at the communities around where you guys are owning shops. Roughly how many shops do you own in this particular locality? He says more than 100 shops. I said, okay. Can I ask you a very simple favor from my side? He said, okay. I said, is it possible to allow a group of youth to pick up the waste so that they create what we call a waste recycling company, and some of the percentages of that money after selling that waste from your shops, it will be then meant for the communities in terms of building the playing grounds for the kids, and also building the community walls, and also assisting those orphan centers or the children who do not have their parents. Okay. He said to me, okay, I'm going to come back to you. Let me speak to my elders, because they always report to their elders. Mm-hmm. After a week, the guy came back. He said, my elders, they said they cannot do that. Now, I'm not saying give me money. I'm saying the waste that you are throwing away, is it possible to allow this young group to come and pick it up from your shop? They said it cannot be done. Now, imagine how many of those who do not have the clear understanding like me who was asking the same question from the same guys. Now, these builds into what we call economic frustration, okay?
Yes.
And these are the people who are expecting you to come and buy from them again.
Yes.
And they're not plowing back to the community. Now, I think it's very important for us to understand, to say the frustration comes from there. Okay? The second one, there was a guy who opened what we call a kiosk, who was selling French fries. I told him how to do French fries because people were not buying from him. I gave him the formula of frying those French fries. Suddenly there was a huge crowd buying from him. Then I was joking. I stopped with my guys, my protectors. I stopped. I said, is it possible for you to give me a packet of French fries as a gesture? He says, no, I'm selling.
Oh my.
I can't give you for free.
Well,
he says, I can't give you for free of charge.
Okay.
So I'm just giving you now those are the issues that you find in the townships, in the vicinity, where people are a buying power, but they are nowhere in the picture of working together, of being assisted. So I'm just trying to say this is where the frustration comes. Now, those that becomes victims are those that become workers. Those who are coming illegally, they become victims because this thing, it boils from a certain pressure into affecting those who are innocent.
Yes. That's what's important to get across to many of our sisters and brothers, is that is the part that we tend not to speak to. I'm making references by using certain maps because for some of our brothers and sisters, like you, as we're speaking, they're not 100% clear of like what we're referencing because some of us have not had the joy and privilege of spending that type of quality time to understand the structure of the African continent. What does it look like? Because we're making commentary. So like as I'm speaking with you, I'm also starting to post different photographs of what the map of South Africa, and granted I should have shown the entire continent, but just for the purposes of our conversation, I am just sharing the portions of South, just so people understand what this looks like, what we're aiming to see, because I think that's the other part that comes across unclear. So I would love for you to continue to share some as we get ready. We have we're going to close in the next 10 to 15 minutes, and I just would like to make sure that you get an opportunity to share as much of the content so that persons can know this broadcast is to give some of the history, right, through the lens of His Royal Majesty King Bungane III of the Embo Nation. And it's also to give context to what is happening now in South Africa and explore solutions. And I'm going to keep saying that. Cannot have organizing, cannot have actionable deliverables if we're not willing to move towards a productive, long-standing, sovereign solution. I'm going to say that part for the people in the back. A sovereign solution. We're not looking for persons to come and infuse a solution that is not supportive of what and who you met where. Make sure we understand that, right? I'm just saying it nicely. I hope that came across as nicely as possible, Your Majesty, because I would love for you to share. Bayete.
And one other thing that I would like to share that becomes a frustration onto the locals. Now, if you understand the scenario of Johannesburg, when you understand the scenario of the upper CBD, meaning Hillbrow, now in Johannesburg, the city of Johannesburg, the council, meaning the municipality, had to embark on a campaign where streets are turned into shops. Can you imagine if there are pavements that are meant for people to walk are now occupied with containers put into those pavements where people are supposed to be walking so that they are not affected by cars. In the CBD, our African brothers and sisters, they create containers, shacks, create them in the middle of a pavement. No one can walk. The same thing happens in one big store. It has been partitioned into smaller shops in one of the big shops. You go to a building, a dilapidated building, it has been partitioned with boxes, meaning it is now a residence of the very same African brothers and sisters. Now, it creates what we call a squalor in the CBD. During the time of the G20, the city, together with the immigration officers, police, had to deal with such a thing. And you know what? The very same people who are building in those pavements have an audacity of taking the city to court to say, why are you removing us here?
I see.
Now, the communities are watching these things to say, you know what? If we don't stand up, because we have no other place to go to. Our children are born, they do not have another place to go and buy and hang around. These guys are taking over. You understand? There's an area in Mayfair. That area in Mayfair in Johannesburg, in the 70s and the 60s, it was occupied by people of Indian and Muslim origins. Today, that area, it is called Small Mogadishu. It is occupied by the Somalians. You don't enter there. It is their area. Okay. You go to Hillbrow, the whole Hillbrow is occupied by Zimbabweans. It's controlled by them. You go to Orange Grove, in the main road is called Louis Botha Road. In Orange Grove is Nigerians. So these are the things that are frustrating communities, the whole of South Africa. You go to other areas in the CBDs of Ekurhuleni, meaning not far from the OR Tambo International Airport. Same story. Everywhere, same story. Go to Durban City in Pointer. It is Nigerians who are controlling them. Now it becomes a contestation of the space, a territorial control. I don't know if you understand. Yes. That's why it is very important to find people who are not going to be members of any political party, but to bring sense and understanding to these people to say, but you are destroying this thing. You saw maybe in Paris, some other times, our African brothers, they've changed Paris into a squalor. You don't do that, you know. You are a when you go to a host, do not dictate terms. You know, do as the Romans do in Rome, you know. Thank you.
No, this is important because persons need to hear different perspectives, because what's being presented is showing something quite different than what you're speaking. And it's important that persons take the time to understand all the different sides, because again, as I've said, you know, I've heard persons that are concerned this is becoming an issue, even coming before the African Union, coming before the various nations inside of the African continent. It's a concern to us that are residing in the West, because this is a time where there's a significant reconnection, you know, as you and I both had an opportunity to witness. You know, we were so grateful that you were able to accept the invitation from Ido to really to be part of that full strength, you know, through the work and leadership of His Royal Highness Papa Atakar and Her Royal Highness Queen Grace of Ido Care International Development Organization network, being able to come into Uganda, of course, persons would have loved for you to continue into Kenya and other spaces, because this kind of unification, this reconnection allows for these types of conversations. This wasn't happening like this at that time, at least we weren't fully aware. But just to know that these are the opportunities for us to speak, to gather, find solutions. If you're in a place, you come to a country, find out the way in which you can be an authentic neighbor, especially when you're going into a nation that is sovereign, a nation that has a not just a contemporary post-colonial sovereignty, but an ancestral sovereignty, right? This is not just South Africa. These are many kingdoms with legacy that is worthy of respect and honor through the economic drivers, through social drivers, through educational systems, through health systems, because all of us that know anything about colonization, whether it comes through the lens of the capitalist imperialist realms, which is its legacy, whether it's apartheid, right? Whether it's Zionism, let's be very clear, right? Racism and all of its classes engagements. These are things that we have to study, work, and organize with resolutions, not just complain, not just this is what happened and it's bad, and then reacting instead of organizing to create the environment that will facilitate the peace that is essential. Because if everybody keeps killing up everybody and everybody keeps terrorizing everybody, all of these conversations will be useless. And that's just, maybe that's the perspective. Women tend to see this thing because we're looking at future generations. We're looking at how our cousins, sisters, brothers, relatives that are across that colonizers' fake boundary line, we're going to be at war with them because we did not take the time to work on strengthening our relations. So, with that, what it would be your closing reflection for today, Your Majesty, King Bungane III?
Mine is that, as I said last time, this is a discussion. This is not a discussion about King Bungane, but it's a discussion about the true reflections that we see in our surroundings. I was a diplomat. This is my closing remarks. I was a diplomat. Whenever I go to Europe with a diplomatic passport, when the airplane door open, 2 officers walks in. Each and every person who's walking out of that door, they are scrutinizing their passports. If they find out that you don't have a valid visa, they tell you to sit down. You don't enter into their country. That's not xenophobic. It is according to their laws in terms of the legislations. I just came back from Uganda recently. For His Majesty King Bungane to go to Uganda, they asked me to fulfill their requirements. One, I must apply for a visa. I did that. They asked me for that visa. When I arrived, I showed them. And then even when I left, they made sure that I fulfilled those requirements in terms of checking for Ebola, all those things. To me, it's not xenophobic. It has nothing to do with that. So if all of us can understand to say, if you go to a host country, do not go to a host country and want to abuse their systems. Even in the ancient times, whenever a person used to visit in a kingdom, that person would go and present himself or herself to the council of that kingship to say, I am who and who I came to visit this particular family for this particular moment, then I'm going back. If you're going to be staying, you are going to also tell them to say, I'm here to stay. I've relocated from my mother's side or from whatever side, I'm here to stay. So that is not xenophobic, but also respect the host, respect those people who are there Do not abuse them, because this is your buying power. These are people that you would need in future. I thank you.
Oh, Bayete, Your Royal Majesty, King Bungane the Third of the Embo Kingdom and Nation. I just wanted to highlight for those that are seeing these different pictures coming up as His Majesty is speaking. I'm putting up various pictures of activities that he has been involved in that he's referencing, as well as putting up maps of South Africa for those of us that might not scoot over to understand the borders that we're referencing, that we're to understand the neighboring African nations and some of the cross pollination that is working well, as well as what he's referenced that is creating certain antagonisms. And we need to look at all of the perspectives and sides. I also am going to close here with this particular photograph that is showing His Royal Majesty King Bungane III during his visit to Uganda. And it was an excellent opportunity to see cross pollination in terms of African nations, South Africa, Uganda, Kenya, in this region that were strengthening our harmonic relationships. I want to highlight that. And this was, of course, through the work of IDO Network and the Global African Diaspora Kingdom during a royal coronation ceremony. I said ceremony singular, but there were several ceremonies that King Bungane III presided over. And it was a phenomenal piece. I encourage persons to go to idonetwork.org. I'll put that in the chat as well so that you can at least see some of the updates of what transpired. In this particular picture, you're seeing various royals from the Serere community, as well as the president of the Global African Diaspora Kingdom, Her Royal Highness Queen Asianut Achom II, who in the Caribbean, we also know her as Dr. Hilary Brown of the CARICOM Secretariat. So I just wanted to make sure. Thank you so much again. Asante, 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 Your Royal Majesty. We're always grateful when you're able to share with us. And for those that are viewing and listening, please share the comments, share the reflections, share some commentary so that we can at least move this in the right direction and keep things always moving so that we recognize and respect that culture heals humanity, land is our foundation, and spiritual harmony unifies us. You are a house of life, and we are to respect one another as such. So that means respecting self, respecting family, respecting community, respecting nations, respecting society, respecting humanity and all of civilization. So we look forward to the next opportunity for you to join us here on AstSpeaks, Building a New Legacy. And until our next time, live free, live strong, live sovereign, and live well.
Yeah. That Crew Podcast Network presents AstSpeaks. Speaks with Queen Mother Dr. Chen. Live every first and third Thursday at 8 p.m. EST. Culture, healing, heritage, spirituality, Caribbean roots, and African diaspora rising. I'm saying quite sure to the world so wide. Queen Mother Dr. Chen brings truth with pride. Culture in the rhythm, wisdom in the sound. Healing for the people, roots in sacred ground. She keeps the story, she keeps it alive. African diaspora, we rise and thrive. Caribbean voices, bold and free. Honoring ancestors, shaping destiny. As we speak, so let the people know. Culture and healing in a reggae flow. As this speaks, heritage strong. Spiritual wisdom all night long. Strong. Every first and third Thursday, tune in live. 8 p.m. EST, come feel the vibe. As this speaks, we rise, we see. Queen Mother Dr. Chen, I speak. This kickstanding, preserving the flame. Teaching our people to honor the name. We're rank moving with chats for life. Culture, healing, art, spirit, and life. Thick Maharaji community wisdom too. Building up the people in all we do. From island roots to global lands. We remember, rise and stand. One African vision, reparations call. Justice and healing for one and all. Audible, these are I heart, hurry up too. Amazon music ring. bringing vibes to you. As this speaks, let the people know culture and healing in a reggae flow. As this speaks, heritage strong, spiritual wisdom all night long. Strong every first and third Thursday, tune in live 8 p.m. PST. Come feel the vibe. As this speaks, we rise, we sing. Queen Mother Dr. Chen. Culture rising, healing flowing, heritage living, spirit knowing, dream mother speaking, Dr. Chen is speaking, Dr. who is streaming, the world is listening, Green mother speaking, Dr. Chen is speaking, Dr. who is streaming, the world is listening. As this speaks, let the people know, culture and healing in a reggae flow. As this speaks, heritage strong, spiritual wisdom all night long. Strong every first and third Thursday, tune in live 8 p.m. PST. Come feel the vibe. As this speaks, we rise, we see Queen Mother Dr. Chen. AstSpeaks with Queen Mother Dr. Chenzira Davis Kaina. Live every first and third Thursday 8 p.m. PST.